Commander Zextari stood before the large viewing screen on the bridge of his ship. The massive HFY War vessel hung in the darkness of space, hidden behind a small moon at the edge of the human solar system. For 3 months now they had been watching, waiting, learning about these strange creatures called humans. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of alien technology. Blue lights flickered across control panels as his crew worked at their stations. Zextari's 4 eyes moved across the data flowing on his screen. Numbers, charts, and reports about human activity filled the display. "Commander," called his science officer, Dr. Veltar, from across the bridge. "The humans are still using their primitive fuel rockets. Their largest ships move slower than our smallest scout vessels." Zextari nodded his large head. The HFY had been space travelers for over 1,000 years. They had conquered dozens of worlds and studied hundreds of species. Humans were nothing special. Just another young race that had barely learned to leave their home planet. "Their weapons are basic projectile systems," Dr. Veltar continued, reading from his tablet. "Metal bullets fired from chemical explosives. No energy shields. No plasma cannons. They are decades behind even the most primitive species we have encountered." The commander walked to the communication station where his signals officer was monitoring human transmissions. Screens showed Earth's radio waves, television broadcasts, and computer networks. The humans seemed to spend most of their time arguing with each other about trivial matters. "They fight among themselves constantly," the signals officer reported. "Their planet is divided into hundreds of small territories. They cannot even unite their own species, let alone pose a threat to the galaxy." Zextari studied the information. The HFY Empire had a simple system for classifying other species. Class 1 species were dangerous enemies with advanced technology. Class 2 species had some useful technology but were manageable. Class 3 species were primitive and harmless. Humans were clearly Class 3. "Sir," the signals officer said suddenly, "I am picking up a distress transmission from the outer system." The commander moved closer to the station. "Show me." The large screen changed to display a human cargo ship drifting in space. The vessel was much smaller than the HFY warship, with a blocky design and visible damage to its hull. Smoke seemed to be coming from its engine sections. "The ship is called New Horizon," the signals officer translated. "It carries medical supplies to a human colony. The transmission says they have engine failure and are requesting immediate assistance." Dr. Veltar moved to another console and began scanning the human ship. "I count 12 life forms aboard. Standard human crew size for this type of vessel. They appear to be trying to repair their engines but are failing." Zextari smiled, showing his sharp teeth. This was exactly what they had been waiting for. The Empire needed live human specimens for study, but taking them from Earth or one of their colonies would alert their military forces. A disabled ship in empty space was perfect. "The ship is commanded by a Captain Jake Miller," the signals officer continued. "The crew includes Chief Engineer Lisa Carter and Security Officer Ben Parker. They are requesting help from any vessel in the area." The commander walked back to his command chair. "Dr. Veltar, prepare your research equipment. We will bring back live specimens for study." "Excellent, Commander. I have been eager to examine human biology up close. Our scans from a distance have shown them to be quite fragile. Weak bones, thin skin, and limited physical strength. They should be easy to subdue." Zextari pressed a button on his chair. "Captain Thokvar to the bridge." Within minutes, the head of the HFY boarding troops arrived. Captain Thokvar was larger than most of his species, with thick armor and multiple weapons attached to his belt. His 8-member elite team was known throughout the Empire for their skill in capturing enemy vessels. "You called for me, Commander?" Thokvar asked in his deep voice. "Yes, we have found our opportunity." Zextari pointed to the screen showing the damaged human ship, 1 disabled vessel, 12 primitive humans. "I want them alive for study." Thokvar studied the ship for a moment. "This will be simple, Commander. My team has captured vessels from species far more advanced than these humans. We will use our breach pods to board them quickly. Our stun weapons will disable them without causing permanent harm. Good, but be careful not to damage their primitive equipment. Dr. Veltar wants to study their technology as well. The captain laughed. What technology? These humans barely know how to build a proper spaceship. Look at that design, cramped. Corridors, low ceilings, and weak hull plating. My soldiers will move through that ship like it was made for children. Dr. Veltar activated another screen showing detailed scans of the human vessel. The ship appears to be carrying standard medical supplies, basic medicines, surgical tools, and emergency equipment. Nothing that could be used as weapons. Their crew is scattered throughout the ship, the signals officer added. Some are in the engine room trying to repair the damage. Others are in the cargo bay and medical sections. They do not appear to be organized for defense. Zekstari stood and walked to the tactical display. Red dots showed the positions of the human crew members. They moved randomly through the ship, clearly focused on repairs rather than security. Perfect, he said. Captain Thokvar, take your team and board that vessel. Stun all humans and bring them back alive. Dr. Veltar, prepare the research laboratory for our guests. How long should we wait, Commander? Thokvar asked. No waiting. The humans are helpless and alone. No other ships are in the area. We go now before someone answers their distress call. The boarding party moved toward their assault pods while the bridge crew prepared for the operation. Zekstari watched the human ship on his screen, still sending out desperate calls for help. Soon, those calls would stop forever. The Corvani had made this mistake before with other species. They saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds. They counted weapons and ships, but never bothered to count the intelligence behind them. In a few minutes, Captain Thokvar and his elite soldiers would learn why the galaxy had an unwritten rule: never board a human ship. The breach pods shot through space like silver bullets, carrying Captain Thokvar and his 7 elite soldiers toward the human ship. Each pod was designed to cut through enemy hulls and deliver boarding parties quickly and quietly. The Corvani had used these same pods to capture dozens of ships from other species. Target the cargo bay, Thokvar ordered through his helmet radio. Our scans show it has the weakest hull plating. The pod slammed into the side of the New Horizon with loud metallic crashes. Cutting lasers activated automatically, slicing through the human ship's hull like hot knives through soft metal. Within seconds, the pods had created perfect circular holes and extended docking tubes. Breach successful, reported Sergeant Kexmal. No hull integrity alarms from the human ship. They do not even know we are here. Thokvar smiled inside his helmet. These humans were even more primitive than expected. A proper warship would have detected the breach immediately and sealed off the damaged sections. The New Horizon just sat there, helpless and unaware. The boarding party moved into the human ship through the docking tubes. The first thing Thokvar noticed was how small everything was. The corridors were narrow, forcing his soldiers to move in single file. The ceilings were low, making the tall Corvani bend their heads. The lighting was dim and yellow, nothing like the bright blue illumination of their own ships. Primitive design, commented Dr. Zulvex, the team's technical specialist. These corridors are far too narrow for proper military movement. No wonder humans are such poor warriors. The soldiers spread out according to their plan. Thokvar split his team into pairs to cover more ground quickly. Their bioscanners showed the human crew scattered throughout the ship, still trying to repair their engines. The aliens had all the advantages: surprise, superior weapons, and advanced armor. Team Alpha, secure the bridge, Thokvar commanded. Team Beta, take the engine room. Team Gamma, check the crew quarters. Team Delta, with me to the medical bay. The first pair of soldiers moved toward the bridge through the narrow corridors. Their energy shields hummed softly, ready to deflect any primitive human weapons. Their plasma rifles were set to stun mode, designed to disable the humans without killing them. Movement ahead, whispered Corporal Hexstar to his partner. One human female moving toward the medical section. Through the dim corridor they could see a human woman in a white coat. She appeared to be carrying some kind of equipment, walking quickly but without panic. The soldiers approached carefully, their weapons ready. The woman was Amy Johnson, the ship's medical officer. She turned when she heard their footsteps, and her eyes went wide with fear. She dropped her equipment and backed against the wall, speaking rapidly in the human language. "Please do not hurt me," she said in English, though the soldiers' translators converted her words automatically. "I am just a doctor. I have no weapons." Corporal Hexstar stepped forward, his stun weapon aimed at her chest. "You will come with us, human. Do not resist, and you will not be harmed." Amy nodded and raised her hands as if surrendering. She looked terrified, exactly what the soldiers expected from a primitive species facing superior technology. Hexstar moved closer, reaching for the restraining devices on his belt. That was when Amy's hand moved to her coat pocket. In one smooth motion, she pulled out a small device that looked like a medical tool. But when she activated it, a bright blue beam shot out, striking Hexstar directly in the chest. The beam cut through his energy shield like it was not there. The soldier screamed as the plasma cutter burned through his armor and into his flesh. He fell to the floor, his weapon clattering away. Amy did not wait to see the results. She rolled to the side and disappeared into a small opening in the wall, some kind of maintenance access that was too small for the large Corvani soldiers to follow. "Hexstar is down," his partner shouted into his radio. The human had a weapon. She escaped into the ship's systems. Similar reports began coming in from the other teams. The humans were not acting like frightened primitives. They were fighting back with weapons and tactics the Corvani had not expected. "Team Beta reporting," came another voice. "We found the engine room, but it was empty. No humans present, but we can hear movement in the walls." Thokvar felt the first touch of concern. His bioscanners had shown humans in the engine room just minutes ago. Where had they gone? "Team Gamma here," reported another soldier. "The crew quarters are also empty. We found evidence of recent activity, but no humans. It is like they vanished." The captain moved through the narrow corridors with his partner, Sergeant Vexenal. Their destination was the medical bay, where their scans had shown 2 human life signs. But when they arrived, they found the room empty except for scattered medical equipment. "This makes no sense," Vexenal muttered. "Our scanners showed humans throughout this ship. Where did they go?" Thokvar studied his bioscanner again. The device showed human life signs, but they seemed to be moving through areas of the ship that should not exist. The readings appeared to come from inside the walls, below the floor, and above the ceiling. "Captain," came a worried voice over the radio. "This is Team Alpha. We reached the bridge, but something is wrong. The controls are not what we expected. This equipment is far more advanced than our initial scans indicated." A chill ran through Thokvar's spine. Advanced equipment meant advanced minds. Advanced minds meant dangerous enemies. "All teams, report your status," he commanded. "Team Alpha. We are secure on the bridge, but the humans are not here. Team Beta, engine room is empty, but we hear sounds from everywhere. Team Gamma, no contact with crew quarters humans. Team Delta, medical bay is empty." Thokvar looked at his scanner again. It now showed human life signs surrounding his teams from all directions. The readings were coming from places that should be impossible, as if the humans were moving through the ship's structure itself. "Something is very wrong here," he said to Vexenal. "These humans are not acting like primitives." That was when the lights went out. The entire ship was plunged into darkness, and the only illumination came from the aliens' helmet lights. In the distance, Thokvar could hear the sound of human voices echoing through the corridors, but he could not tell where they were coming from. The hunters had become the hunted. The darkness was complete except for the small lights on the alien helmets. Captain Thokvar pressed his back against the corridor wall, trying to understand what had happened. His elite soldiers, trained for boarding actions across the galaxy, were now trapped in a maze of narrow passages. "All teams report," he whispered into his radio. "Team Alpha here," came a nervous voice. We are on the bridge, but the controls are not responding. The human computer systems are more complex than we thought. Team Beta reporting. We found something strange in the engine room. The damage we saw from outside was fake? The engines are working perfectly. Thokvar felt his blood grow cold. Fake damage meant this was a trap. The humans had been waiting for them. Suddenly, a calm human voice spoke through the ship's communication system. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, echoing through the corridors. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome aboard the New Horizon. I am Captain Jake Miller. The alien soldiers looked around in confusion. Their translators were working, but the tone of the human's voice was wrong. He sounded relaxed, almost amused. I hope you are enjoying your tour of our ship, Captain Miller continued. I should mention that we detected your approach about 3 hours ago. We have been preparing for your visit. Impossible, Thokvar muttered. Our stealth technology is perfect. No primitive species has ever detected our ships. Oh, but we did, the human voice replied, as if he had heard the alien's words. Your ship puts out a very specific radiation. Signature: we have been tracking you since you entered our solar system. Team Alpha reported from the bridge. Captain, the humans knew we were coming. This whole distress call was fake. They were waiting for us? Thokvar's scanner showed human life signs moving through the ship's walls and ceiling. It was impossible. But the readings were clear. The humans were using the ship's maintenance systems to move around unseen. Now, Captain Miller's voice continued, I should introduce you to my crew. You have already met Dr. Amy Johnson, our medical officer. She used a plasma cutter on one of your soldiers. Very effective tool, originally designed for emergency surgery. The alien captain looked at his wounded soldier Hexstar, who was still alive but badly injured. The human had turned a medical device into a weapon. This was not the behavior of a primitive species. You will also meet Chief Engineer Lisa Carter and Security Officer Ben Parker. They are quite skilled at making modifications to our ship's systems. As if summoned by the captain's words, the lights in the corridor began to flicker, but they were not flickering randomly. The pattern was deliberate, designed to confuse the alien's vision. The Kavani had excellent night vision, but the changing lights made it impossible to see clearly. Team Beta, what is your status? Thokvar called. We are in the engine room, but something is wrong with the gravity. It keeps changing direction. 2 of our soldiers are injured. The human captain's voice spoke again. Yes, that would be Lisa's work. She has been adjusting the artificial gravity in different sections of the ship. Very disorienting for visitors who are not used to it. Thokvar realized that the humans were using their own ship as a weapon. Every system, every corridor, every piece of equipment was being turned against the boarding party. The narrow passages that had seemed like poor design were actually tactical advantages for the smaller humans. Team Gamma reporting, came another voice. We are trapped in the crew quarters. The door is sealed automatically and we cannot get out. The humans are pumping some kind of gas into the room. Do not panic, Captain Miller's voice said calmly. That is just sleeping gas. You will wake up in a few hours with mild headaches. Dr. Johnson insisted on non-lethal methods. The alien soldiers' advanced equipment was becoming a problem. Their energy shields were designed for open combat, not narrow corridors. The shields kept hitting the walls and ceiling, making noise and slowing their movement. Their plasma rifles were too powerful for close combat. Firing them risked damaging the ship's hull and killing everyone aboard. Team Delta, what is your position? Thokvar asked. Silence. Then, after a long moment, a different voice answered. It was human, speaking in accented English. Team Delta has taken a nap, the voice said. This is Ben Parker, by the way. I used to work for Earth military before joining this cargo ship. Old habits die hard. Thokvar's scanner showed that Team Delta's life signs were weak but stable, unconscious but alive. The humans were defeating his elite soldiers without even killing them. Captain, Sergeant Vexenal whispered, we should retreat. This is not a primitive species. They are more dangerous than we thought. No, Thokvar replied. We are elite Corvani soldiers. We do not retreat from humans. But even as he spoke, he could feel the ship changing around them. The temperature was rising in their section, making their heavy armor uncomfortable. The air was becoming thick and humid, affecting their breathing. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors, mechanical noises that could be anything from repair work to weapons being prepared. Team Alpha, can you reach the breach pods? Thokvar asked. Negative, Captain. The corridors leading to the cargo bay are sealed. We tried to blast through, but the doors are made of some kind of reinforced metal. Our weapons barely scratch them. Those would be our emergency blast doors, Captain Miller explained helpfully. Designed to contain hull breaches and prevent explosive decompression. They can stop a small asteroid, so I doubt your plasma rifles will be effective. Thokvar's bioscanner showed more human life signs approaching their position. But these readings were different somehow, more organized, more purposeful. The humans were no longer hiding and running, they were hunting. Sergeant, he said to Vexenal, prepare for close combat, the humans are coming. But before they could ready their weapons, the corridor filled with a thick white fog. Their helmet lights could barely penetrate the mist, and their bioscanners became confused by the strange particles in the air. Fire suppression system, came Amy Johnson's voice from somewhere in the fog. Very effective for creating cover. Shapes moved in the mist, quick small figures that appeared and disappeared before the aliens could aim their weapons. The humans knew exactly where they were going. While the Corvani stumbled blind through the fog, a stunning blast hit Vexenal from behind and he collapsed to the floor. Thokvar spun around, but there was nothing to see except swirling mist. Another blast came from his left, barely missing his head. Surrender now, came Ben Parker's voice from the fog, and you will be treated well. Continue fighting and we will be forced to take more aggressive action. Thokvar looked at his scanner. Of his 8 elite soldiers, only 3 were still conscious and mobile. The rest were either unconscious or trapped in sealed sections of the ship. The humans had defeated his boarding party using nothing but the ship's own systems and improvised weapons. Commander Zextari, he called into his radio, request immediate extraction. The mission has failed. These humans are not primitives. They are warriors, but there was no response. The fog was blocking their communications, and the ship's hull was interfering with their signals. The Corvani boarding party was completely cut off from their mothership. In the mist, Captain Jake Miller's voice spoke one last time. Welcome to human space, gentlemen. Class dismissed. Commander Zextari stood frozen on the bridge of his warship, staring at the communication screen. Static filled the speakers where his boarding party's voices should have been. The last message from Captain Thokvar had been a desperate call for extraction, followed by silence. Communications officer, boost the signal, he ordered. I want contact with the boarding party immediately. The young officer worked at his controls, his 4 hands moving quickly across the panel. I am trying, Commander, but something is blocking. Our transmissions? The human ship appears to be jamming our signals. Impossible, Dr. Veltar said from his science station. Humans do not have jamming technology. Our intelligence reports show they are decades behind us in communications. But even as he spoke, new readings appeared on his screen. The human ship was generating electromagnetic fields that were far more complex than anything in their files. The technology was not primitive at all. Commander, the signals officer called out, I am receiving a transmission from the human ship. They are trying to contact us. Put it through, Zextari ordered. The screen cleared and the image of a human appeared. It was Captain Jake Miller, the same human who had been speaking to the boarding party. But now his appearance was different somehow. He looked calm, confident, and completely in control. Commander Zextari of the Corvani Empire, the human said, using perfect pronunciation of the alien's name. I am Captain Jake Miller of the Earth Strategic Command Vessel New Horizon. I believe you are missing some of your crew. The commander's blood went cold. Earth Strategic Command? Not civilian cargo haulers? Military? What have you done with my soldiers? Zextari demanded. They are safe and being treated well, Captain Miller replied, though I am afraid they will need some time to recover from their injuries. Your captain? Thokvar has a mild concussion, but he will be fine. Behind Captain Miller, the bridge of the human ship was visible. It was nothing like the primitive cargo vessel they had expected. Advanced displays showed star charts, tactical readouts, and technical specifications that looked far more sophisticated than Corvani technology. Dr. Veltar, Zextari whispered, run full scans on that ship. I want to know what we are really dealing with. The science officer's readings came back immediately. Commander, this is not a cargo vessel. The ship has military-grade armor, advanced weapon systems, and sensor arrays that are more powerful than our own. How did we miss this? On the screen, Captain Miller smiled. You missed it because we wanted you to miss it. The engine damage was fake. The distress call was bait. We have been waiting for you to make contact. A new figure appeared beside the human captain. It was the woman who had injured Hexstar with the plasma cutter. But now she was wearing a different uniform, military colors, with insignia that showed high rank. Allow me to introduce Dr. Amy Johnson, Captain Miller said. She is our chief medical officer, but she also holds a degree in xenobiology and has been studying your species for the past 6 months. Dr. Johnson stepped forward. Commander Zextari, we know quite a bit about the Corvani Empire. We know about your expansion plans, your classification system for other species, and your habit of underestimating races you consider primitive. That is impossible, Dr. Veltar said, though his voice was shaking. We have been observing from maximum stealth range. No primitive species has ever detected our surveillance. Another human appeared on the screen. This one was larger, with short gray hair and the bearing of a professional soldier. Commander Ben Parker, Earth Strategic Command, he introduced himself. Former security officer Ben Parker was just a cover identity. We have been watching your ship for 3 months, just as you have been watching us. Commander Zextari felt. The deck of his ship seemed to tilt under his feet. You have been watching us? Of course, Commander Parker replied. Did you think we would not notice a large alien warship hiding in our solar system? We detected you the day you arrived. The final human to appear was Chief Engineer Lisa Carter, though she too was now wearing military insignia. The electromagnetic signature from your stealth systems is quite distinctive, she explained. It took us about a week to track you down and begin our surveillance. We have been studying your technology, your tactics, and your behavior patterns, Captain Miller continued. We know that your species prefers to capture specimens rather than destroy them. We knew you would eventually try to board what appeared to be a helpless cargo ship. Dr. Veltar was frantically updating his database, but the information was overwhelming. Commander, I am reading massive errors in all our intelligence reports. These humans are not Class 3 primitives. They are at least Class 2, possibly Class 1. Actually, Dr. Johnson said, we prefer not to be classified at all. We find your rating system rather insulting. On the tactical display, new contacts began appearing around the Corvani ship. They seemed to materialize from empty space, as if they had been invisible until now. You are surrounded, Commander Parker informed them. 3 Earth Strategic Command vessels have been providing distant support for this operation. We could have destroyed your ship at any time, but we preferred to make contact first. Captain Miller leaned forward. You see, Commander Zextari, we have been aware of the Corvani Empire for some time. We know you have been expanding into this region of the galaxy. We know you consider Earth to be a potential target for conquest. We wanted to understand your capabilities before making formal contact, Dr. Johnson added. Your boarding party provided us with excellent data on Corvani military technology and tactics. The weapons your soldiers carried are now being analyzed by our technicians, Lisa Carter said. Very interesting design. We should be able to improve our own defensive systems based on what we have learned. Commander Zextari looked at his tactical officer. How many ships are out there? I count 4 vessels, Commander. They are using some kind of stealth technology that is superior to our own, I cannot get detailed scans. Actually, there are 6 ships, Captain Miller corrected. 2 of them are still hidden. We wanted to demonstrate that we can track and surround your forces without being detected. This is impossible, Zextari said. Our intelligence reports show that humans are barely capable of interplanetary travel. You should not have this technology. Your intelligence reports are based on what we allowed you to see, Commander Parker explained. We have been very careful to hide our true capabilities while we studied potential threats. Captain Miller's expression became more serious. Commander, we are prepared to release your boarding party and allow you to return to your territory. But first, we need to have a conversation about the future relationship between our species. Dr. Johnson stepped forward again. We know that the Corvani Empire is approaching our borders. We know you are evaluating Earth as a potential target. We want to make sure you understand exactly what kind of species you are dealing with. Consider this encounter a demonstration, Lisa Carter added. Your elite boarding party was defeated by a single ship with a crew of 12. We used only non-lethal methods and the ship's own systems. Imagine what we could do with our full military capabilities. Commander Zextari looked around his bridge at the worried faces of his crew. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. The primitive species had been watching them, studying them, and preparing for this exact scenario. What do you want? He asked finally. Captain Miller smiled. We want to talk. The meeting took place in the New Horizons conference room. Commander Zextari sat across from Captain Miller with Dr. Johnson and Commander Parker on either side of the human captain. The Corvani commander had been allowed to bring Dr. Veltar as his advisor. The room was small but well-equipped, with a large screen showing star charts of the local region. Before we begin, Captain Miller said, I want to make sure you understand our position. We are not interested in conquest or empire building. We simply want to be left alone to develop in peace. Zextari nodded slowly. But your technology suggests you are capable of much more than defense. We are, Commander Parker agreed. But we prefer to use our abilities for exploration and scientific advancement. However, we will defend ourselves if threatened. Dr. Johnson activated the wall screen, showing detailed images of Corvani ships and equipment. We have been studying your empire for over a year. We know about your expansion patterns, your military capabilities, and your methods of dealing with other species. How is this possible? Dr. Veltar asked. We have had no contact with your species before today. We have been visiting your border worlds for months, Lisa Carter explained as she entered the room. Small scout ships, completely undetectable by your sensors. We have been learning your language, studying your culture, and mapping your territories. Commander Zextari felt a chill run through his body. You have been in our space? Of course, Captain Miller replied. We needed to understand what kind of threat you pose to Earth. We learned that you classify other species and decide their fate based on your own standards. We found this system quite disturbing. We also learned, Dr. Johnson continued, that you prefer to capture and study other species rather than simply destroying them. This gave us an opportunity to make contact in a controlled environment. The Corvani commander looked around the room at the confident human faces. You planned this entire encounter. Every detail, Commander Parker confirmed. We knew you would eventually try to board what appeared to be a helpless cargo ship. We prepared accordingly. Captain Miller leaned forward. Commander, I want to show you something that might change your perspective on humanity. The screen changed to show images of Earth's military installations. Massive space stations, fleets of warships, and weapon systems that looked far more advanced than anything in the Corvani database. This is what we have been hiding from you, Captain Miller said. Earth's true military capabilities. We have been very careful to make ourselves appear primitive and harmless while we studied potential threats. Dr. Veltar stared at the images in shock. These ships are larger than our own battlecruisers. This technology is beyond anything we have encountered. We have been spacefaring for longer than you realized, Lisa Carter explained. We simply chose to develop quietly while observing other species. We learned early that it was safer to appear weak than to reveal our true strength. But why reveal it now? Zextari asked. Because your empire is approaching our borders, Commander Parker replied. We know you are planning to expand into human space. We wanted to give you a chance to reconsider before making a terrible mistake. Captain Miller stood and walked to the window that looked out into space. Commander, we are prepared to offer you a choice. You can return to your empire with a message of peace and cooperation. We are willing to establish formal diplomatic relations and even share some of our technology. Or, Zextari asked, or you can continue to view us as primitive prey, Dr. Johnson said quietly. In which case you will discover exactly how dangerous we can be when threatened. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, Dr. Veltar spoke. What guarantee do we have that you will honor such an agreement? The same guarantee we have that you will, Captain Miller replied. Mutual respect and understanding. We are not asking you to trust us completely, just to treat us as equals rather than subjects. Commander Zextari thought about his options. His empire was powerful, but the humans had demonstrated abilities that were far beyond what they had expected. Starting a war with such a species would be catastrophic. I will take your message to the Empire, he said finally. But I cannot speak for their decision. We understand, Captain Miller replied. But we wanted to make sure they have all the information before making their choice. 2 hours later, the Corvani boarding party was released. Captain Thokvar and his soldiers were unconscious but unharmed, loaded into their breach pods with full medical care. Dr. Johnson had even provided detailed treatment instructions for their injuries. Tell your empire what you have learned here, Captain Miller said as the aliens prepared to leave. Tell them that humans are not primitive prey, but dangerous allies or equally dangerous enemies. Commander Zextari paused at the airlock. What should I tell them about boarding human ships? Tell them not to, Commander Parker replied simply. Ever. The Corvani ship departed the Sol system with its crew shaken and their database completely rewritten. Dr. Veltar spent the entire journey home updating their classification system. Humans were no longer Class 3 primitives. They were now marked as Class 1, extremely dangerous, technologically advanced, and unpredictable. The report reached the Corvani High Command within a week. The Empire's leaders read the account with growing alarm. An entire elite boarding party defeated by a single ship. Advanced technology hidden behind a facade of primitive development. Military capabilities that exceeded their own. Within a month, the story had spread throughout the Corvani Empire. Military commanders shared the account with their crews as a warning. The tale of the boarding party that tried to capture human specimens became required reading in their tactical training programs, but the story did not stop with the Corvani. It spread to other species through trade routes and diplomatic channels. The Zelani merchants told it to their customers. The Hovan explorers shared it with their contacts. The Bexry scientists included it in their xenobiology reports. Within a year, the story had reached every corner of the galaxy. The details changed with each telling, but the core message remained the same. Humans were not what they appeared to be, and boarding their ships was a fatal mistake. New rules appeared in the military manuals of dozens of species. Standard operating procedures were updated across the galaxy. Encounter protocols were rewritten to include special warnings about human vessels. The rule became universal. Knowledge among spacefaring species: never board a human ship. The creatures that appeared weak and primitive were actually among the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They were patient, intelligent, and utterly ruthless when threatened. And in the depths of space, human ships continued their missions of exploration and trade, their crews knowing that they were no longer seen as easy targets. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity. One boarding party at a time, the New Horizon returned to its patrol route, its crew proud of their successful mission. They had established Earth as a force to be respected throughout the galaxy, and they had done it without firing a single shot in anger. Captain Jake Miller smiled as he looked at the stars ahead. The galaxy was a big place, full of wonders to explore and new species to meet. And now, thanks to one simple rule, they could do it safely, never board a human ship. The lesson had been learned.